This is a Model Y, and this is also a Model Y, but they are not the same, not at all. After Tesla announced that they were discontinuing the Model X, the question that sprang to our head was, are they going to introduce another 3-row SUV to replace it? And it turns out we didn't have to wait very long to find out. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. Now, I already know what you're going to say. Brian, the Model Y already offers a 3rd row. And what I have to say to that is, have you seen it? That's not a 3rd row, that's a penalty box. Enter the Model YL. It's about 7 inches longer than the regular Model Y, and it's got an additional row of seats that are not optional. Now, we've also brought along this Model Y Launch Edition out of our 1-year road test fleet to provide a size comparison. And we're also gonna bust out the measuring tape to check out the cargo areas in the back seats to see how those have changed. Now, the Model YL is also going to be a couple inches taller than the Model Y, and we're really excited to hear that because hopefully that helps to alleviate the 3rd row headroom issue that the Model Y and the Model X both suffered from. Now, unless you're catching these vehicles from the side where you can really see the size difference, it's going to be pretty hard to tell them apart because the front and rear styling is basically the same. And since both of these are launch editions, they're going to have that colorful badge on the liftgate. We're going to walk through all the differences and give you a hands-on review of the Model YL. We'll put everything else, like the results this vehicle achieves on the Edmunds EV range test and our full rating, on our website. To get there, you'll find the link in the description, or you can just scan the QR code. Usually we like to start our interior sections in the front row, but for the Model YL, the real story is what's happening here in the 2nd row and now the 3rd row. So this is where we will begin. Now, that extra 7 inches of overall length, 6 inches of that is going to come from the wheelbase. So this cabin is just much, much bigger than you're getting in the Model Y. And this 2nd row, I have to say, it really is a fantastic place to be. Plenty of room in here, legroom and headroom. We actually measured though. The distance from the floor to the ceiling behind the center console here in both vehicles is about the same. The added height for the Model YL is really only going to pay off for that 3rd row, but that's okay because, again, tons of room here. Power adjustments for both of these seats. They both tilt and slide forward and back, and they're also going to come with heating and ventilation and a pair of USB-C charging ports that charge at 65 watts so they can juice up a tablet or even a laptop. Now, these powered armrests, they only have one setting, so hopefully it's comfortable for you. But the other nice thing is that when they go down, they do have pinch protection, so they're not going to hurt your hand or any other body parts that get stuck in there. Now, a couple final things to mention, one good and one bad. Tesla added air vents to the pillars for both the 2nd and 3rd row, and we really like having vents up here because they really increase the circulation, help the cabin cool down much quicker than before. And for car seats, even though the doors are wider, which is going to make it easier to actually fit the seat into the vehicle, the lower latch anchors, they're a bit tough to access, so installation is still going to be a little bit difficult. Now, these 2nd row seats, they do fold down pretty flat, but the problem is that even when they're folded down, there isn't really a channel through which to climb into the back here, even with the wider back doors. Really, the only way to get to the 3rd row is to go right down the middle. And as you can see, it's kind of a tight squeeze. I'm a pretty big guy, so I'm gonna try to do this as gracefully as possible. But as you can see, this isn't a 3rd row that you climb into so much as one that you kind of just fall into. Hey, I made it. Immediately I can tell that this 3rd row is an improvement over the regular Model Y and the Model X because my head is not firmly planted in the ceiling right away. Now, I set up the driver's seat where I like to drive in this captain's chair where I'm comfortable. I'm just under 6 feet tall, and as you can see, I do have a little bit of legroom, so this barely passes the 3 Brian's test. The problem is the area down there, it isn't wide enough to fit both of my feet, so one of my feet has to live in the middle, which means that if you're sitting next to someone, you're going to be playing footsie the entire time. Now, the 3rd row, it does have good features. These are heated seats. You're getting that air vent in the pillar like we like, and these also have power recline. The problem is though that the controls for some of these things, they aren't accessible from the 3rd row. For example, if I want to turn on those heated seats, I've got to do it through the screen up there. So I hope you have a good relationship with your sibling who's sitting in front of you. The other thing you'll notice is that the sun just feels a lot brighter here in the third row. Tesla actually made the most of the glass roof a lot more tinted, so the first and second rows, it does a pretty good job of helping to keep them cool. But you're right behind the glass that's on the lift gate, and you can't tint that because you need to be able to see out of it. So that means that the sun, it just beats down on you back here, and the top of your head, well, I can maybe fry an egg on that thing. The other thing to watch out for this third row, there's not a lot of shoulder room. So if you're gonna put 2 adult passengers back here, you're basically gonna be sitting shoulder to shoulder. There's gonna be a lot of touching, and there's not gonna be a good way to avoid it. Now, technically on paper, this has the same amount of third row legroom as something like a Hyundai Palisade, but I've been in the third row of a Hyundai Palisade, and you, sir, you are no Hyundai Palisade. That also means that cars like the EV9, the Ioniq 9, and the R1S are also gonna offer a touch more third row room, and the seats on those cars are gonna sit up higher, so your knees aren't going to be uncomfortably high like this. It is a third row that's actually usable, I would say, but it's still going to be better for kids than adults. Up here in the front of the Model YL, things are going to be basically just the same. 16-inch touchscreen here that's super clear and super responsive. As long as you're okay with all of your controls living in here, you're gonna like this setup quite a bit. And if you don't, you'll find it pretty annoying, especially when you have to adjust the air vents. Really, really good small item storage, dual wireless charging pads, and one change to the seats that's going to be really good in the Model Y. You actually now get adjustable headrests for the first time. And since these are 16-way power adjustable, you're also gonna get extendable thigh support, a feature we really liked out of the Model Y Performance. If you like what you've seen so far out of this Model YL, your current set of wheels can serve as a great head start on your next new car. Just head over to edmunds.com/sellmycar to get an instant cash offer. Now, when it comes to cargo room, Tesla actually didn't have too many numbers for us. The only cargo number they gave us was that the Model YL has a maximum cargo volume of just under 90 cubic feet, which is about 13 more than you're getting in the Model Y with its seats folded down. So we pulled out the tape measure. You've only got about 20 inches between here and the back of the third row, just not a lot of space. We weren't able to fit our largest check bag back there. We actually had to go down a size to fit it. All 3 bags easily fit into the back of the Model Y, of course. Now, when you fold down the third row, you are getting a lot more space in the Model Y, about 6 inches extra from the lift gate to the back of the second row seats. And when you fold down the second row seats, you get a pretty flat load floor, which is nice. And we also like that there's a panel over there. You can lower all the seats without having to walk around the car at all. One other cargo feature that we're really glad the Model YL retained is its underfloor storage bin. We measured that too. It's about the same size as the one you're getting in the Model Y, and it's a great place to put things that you don't want people to see in the back of the vehicle. Now, even though this is a Model YL Premium, when it comes to the components that it has that are affecting how you drive, it's actually got a lot more in common with the Model Y Performance, starting with its motors. Now, I tried to confirm with Tesla where the motors on this vehicle came from because all-wheel drive, it comes with 2 of them, and they were able to confirm at least that the rear drive unit is going to come out of the Model Y Performance, and that's why it makes 496 horsepower, which is a lot more than the Model Y Premium. It's also quicker than the Model Y Premium as well, 4.4 seconds from 0 to 60, even though this car is definitely larger and heavier. Now, that's of course a number we're going to have to test out for ourselves at the Edmunds test track, but on the road, oh, it's plenty punchy. This has that sort of Tesla really get up and go feel, so if you like that, you're gonna get a real strong instant punch of acceleration, and yeah, it's gonna carry you all the way up to a top speed of 125 miles per hour. The Model YL is also going to come with an adaptive suspension that's, again, lifted out of the Model Y Performance, but the tuning has been changed pretty drastically. But in this vehicle, they're definitely tuned more for comfort and for ride quality for all 6 of your passengers. There are actually 2 different suspension settings, but they're not probably what you would think. Instead of being, let's say, comfort and firm, what you have instead is front or back seat. And so the suspension will actually prioritize comfort for either the people sitting here up front or for your passengers in the back. Now, the way that it works is when you prioritize rear comfort, it actually stiffens up the rear springs and loosens up the front just a touch. So up front here, you should notice a little bit more sort of bounciness or floatiness to the ride. But to be honest, I've been playing around with it all day, and with both settings up here, you're really not going to tell that much of a difference at all. Now, I spent a good portion of the day driving around with my cameraman in the back, and I asked him if he really noticed a difference between the 2 suspension settings, and he said, also kind of not really. It's nice to be able to think about your rear passengers in that way, but I think the bottom line is this vehicle, it rides well whether you're sitting in the front or the back at pretty much all times. Overall, this is a very nicely riding vehicle. It does really well with road scenes, potholes, imperfections, vibrations are nicely controlled. Just like our Model Y that we've owned for a while, the ride quality, I'd give it a thumbs up. Now, this being a Tesla, you're also getting the latest in driver aids, the highlight being the full self-driving supervised, and this is the latest version of that. This is a system that's been improving over time, and in this vehicle, it's still quite good. Now, we have to emphasize, you still need to really pay attention to it because there are moments where it might get a little bit confused or it's not sure what to do. And when it comes to parking or figuring out where you want to pull over, those are things that you should definitely do on your own. But for a hands-free system, it's still really, really impressive. And if you're using the regular adaptive cruise control on the highway, this is still, I think, the best system that you can buy for that. And then, of course, the final thing we're going to have to discuss with you behind the wheel is range. Now, you might think that since this is a larger and heavier vehicle, there is going to be some range penalty, but that's really not the case at all. One of the reasons is that this actually has a larger battery than the Model Y Premium. It's about 4% more capacity, up to 83 kilowatt hours, because since the wheelbase is longer, they can actually make the battery a bit longer, stuff a few more cells in there. Now, the Tesla estimated range for this vehicle currently sits at 325 miles, but they indicated that when they finish their EPA validation, that number might go up. But of course, that's a number that we'll have to test out for ourselves on the world famous Edmunds EV range test, and hopefully that's something that we get to do soon. Now, Tesla's range estimates, they've gotten a lot more accurate over the years. That other Model Y that we have in our one-year road test fleet, it actually hit its EPA estimate exactly at 327 miles. So right now, a Tesla estimated 325 miles for this vehicle with the 19-inch wheels. The 20-inch wheels that we have on here drops it down to 320, but still, that's really not much range penalty to pay for all this extra room and even some extra performance. Now, driving the Model YL isn't going to be that much fundamentally different than driving the regular Model Y, which I think is a good thing because, for the most part, we really like how that vehicle drives. But the L definitely feels a bit more comfortable. I really like the way that it's sprung, and having extra power, who's going to say no to that? Before we wrap things up, if you've been enjoying our videos and find them helpful, a like and subscribe is the best way to help us make more of them. And if you have any questions about the Model Y L or any Tesla, let us know in the comments below. We do read them all. Now, as these EV companies like Tesla and Rivian are wont to do, the Model YL is only going to be available in this fully loaded launch edition when it comes out at first, and it's going to cost you just over $63,000. Now, that's about a $12,000 markup over the Model Y Premium all-wheel drive, which is sort of the closest trim level that this lines up with. However, our Model Y launch edition, when we bought it, it was only about $2,000 less than this thing. So I feel like there are going to be much cheaper versions of this vehicle that are going to come pretty soon, especially because Tesla tells us that this launch edition, it's almost sold out. Once we get outside of the Tesla family, however, I think the Model YL starts to show some really serious value. All those 3-row EV SUVs, they're way overpriced, from the EV9 to the Ioniq 9 to the R1S. And while all three of them are going to offer you more room, especially in the third row, than this vehicle, they all cost significantly more. This fully loaded version, it costs about the same as a mid-grade EV9, but it's got way more features than it. So when a cheaper version comes out, it's going to undercut all three of those SUVs and provide a nice spot in the market for those who need to carry more than 5 people, but don't need to do it all the time. So there's a lot to like here in this Model YL, and that's before we even get to the added room. Tesla didn't need to add more power to it, but for some reason they did, so it's super quick, and I think it has an excellent suspension. The longer wheelbase helps to smooth things out even more, and the ride quality is a definite positive in this vehicle. And I also like the added features. Adjustable headrests are great, and this third row, it's probably the best third row that Tesla has ever made, although that's not really saying much now, is it? Now again, if you're interested in picking up a Model YL, you're only going to be able to order it, which you can do right now, in this launch edition configuration, and those are going to start shipping in early fall. But my personal advice, be a little bit patient, wait for those cheaper versions to come out. Those are going to hold a lot more value, and I think they're going to be even better buys in the long run. Thanks for watching.